All right, we're live.
Okay, this is Monday afternoon, 1:30 p.m., February the 1st, 2021. This is the Real Property Committee meeting, and we're having this meeting in virtual meeting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And what I would like to do first is call to order and acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. And I also want to acknowledge that all of our committee members are present. Myself, Councilmember Popson, Councilmember Moy, we're all here. And next order of business is the approval of previous meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
I do have, I do have one thing that we should note on here, Nicole. The second paragraph, the election of chair and vice chair.
All right.
Just a typo. Councilmember Popson's vice chair. And it reads that both he and I both are chair. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just make that one change there, and we'll be good to go.
Gotcha.
And
Thank you.
we could do that. So, anyway, I heard a motion, I think, for the approval of the meeting minutes.
You did?
Do I hear a second?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And no opposed, of course. All right. In regards to citizens' comments, do we have any, Ron?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. We did not have any citizens' comments for this particular meeting, and nobody signed up to speak at it either.
Okay, well, I just want to go on record also to say that we really encourage all of our citizens to make comments, whether they're by email or if they want to set up a Zoom conversation with us, we'd be happy to hear from them. Always open to any citizens' comments that may be out there. So, so we definitely welcome that. Next order of business is Marina tenants' comments. And with that, we're going to have an update on the construction of the Marina restaurant from John Bushnell and Dave Lorenz. And I'm hoping that I see John's coming on here. So I'm assuming the two will be together. So hopefully we will be able to hear from them in just a moment. Desiree, do you know if they're in the process of getting on?
They should be logging into Zoom. I can't see whether or not they've been added to the meeting. Ron?
Yeah, so John is here. It looks like maybe he's having some issues with video at the moment. We're just going to give him a second to kind of sort it out.
Let's just give him some time here.
Okay, yeah, he will be able.
We're in the weeds. Can you
Hello,
hear
John.
us?
Hello, the weeds. Hi, Dave.
Hey guys, welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
So we are live streaming currently, and we are at the part of the meeting where comments for Marina tenants are ready to go. So if you have anything you would like to say, now is the time.
John and Dave, the reason we've asked you all to come to the Real Property Committee meeting is to provide a sort of a comprehensive update on the developments of the construction and the rehabilitation of the restaurant. And I know that there's a lot going on and a lot of work, good work that y'all have been doing. And we felt like it would be appropriate for you all to provide an update to the committee and maybe be available to answer any questions. And also not only the committee, but to the public as well. So if you don't mind giving us an update, and then the chair will entertain any additional questions.
I'll give you the time frame or the updates in terms of some of the steps we've taken. We signed the lease on November 12th, and after that, we then re-engaged with the architect to begin full plan designs. He worked on the exterior walls and redesigning the building in order to meet the December 10th application date, which was for the Board of Zoning variance hearing. That was on January 5th. So from that time, from early December till January 5th, he couldn't design further plans until that hearing was approved. On January 5th, we presented to the board. We did receive approval, which allowed us for some exterior seating and to essentially remove the wall facing the intercoastal waterway, which is some of the structural issues. So once we had approval for that, the architect could then move forward on the interior design. And that's what we've been focused on the last several weeks. In addition to that, we've also re-engaged with the structural engineer who has been working with us to find a way to secure the tent structure on the second floor that's going to be strapped all the way down to the foundation. And in addition, after the January 5th hearing, the structural engineer could then work on redesigning some of the exterior walls, specifically the ones facing the intercoastal waterway. That is also in process. So our next step is to submit the architectural and the structural stamped plans to the City of Isle of Palms in order to start working on some of the walls, the framing in essence. The second part, which we're going to be doing in parallel, Dave and I are actually right now working with the equipment manufacturing design team in order to locate the kitchen equipment, which will allow the MEP drawings, so the mechanical and the electrical drawings for the inside of the building to be worked on. So those will be going on, again, on parallel paths. And we expect to submit the first set of plans to Douglas in the next few weeks to then have approval from the city, both with the design phase as well as the building review, and then start work in March. And is there any additional items in terms of some of the operations?
I mean, we've mostly the restaurant's pretty much gutted, which is giving us, we're kind of working on, and that's what we're actually at the company that does the layout of equipment and all that, to kind of get the flow of the restaurant and where everything's going to be. So we're in that stage where it kind of, you got to break it down before you build it up. So we're in the break it down stage. So it's pretty amazing to see the inside. It's a hollow restaurant right now. Ceilings are gone, a lot of the drywall down to the studs. So we really will be able to build back it in better shape with new electrical and better plumbing and new HVAC and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the phase we're in now.
John and Dave,
Thank
just real quickly, with the goal of trying to begin the actual building, I guess, in March, how does that line up with what your original goal was to get something open, in late spring, early summer?
Still trying to work on the exterior plan. That's the first phase, to get that outside open. That is contingent on having a working kitchen in order to get a certificate of occupancy, in order to get a liquor license, so that the outside area can get open in late spring, early summer. The interior, again, we're still targeting the summer, but we won't have an exact date until we get these plans to a number of the subcontractors to give us timeframes. So we're still tracking towards the same, or close to the same timeframe, but we don't have exact dates for you yet until we have all these engineered plans stamped.
Okay. All right, you want to continue with your update, or Council Member Popson, you've got a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do, just a quick one. As you're demoing and you're down to your studs, guys, have you found any unexpected items?
No, we had pretty low expectations in terms of what we could reuse in the interior of the building. So there was nothing that was unexpected. We knew from the Hill report, some of the structural issues that are on the backside facing the coastal. So that's the portion of the building that we're cutting off anyhow. There was significant damage back there, but again, we don't plan on reusing that portion. So the answer is, it is pretty bad on the back building, but again, that wasn't unexpected based on the Hill report.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh, and sorry.
No, go ahead.
One last update I didn't provide was the civil engineering. So we talked about the MEP drawings, the architectural drawings, and the engineering, structural engineering plans. The civil engineer has also been engaged and is reworking the exterior landscape plan, as well as a more efficient design of the parking space. And in that is important because we have to potentially move a transformer. We have to potentially relocate the fire hydrant, as well as the FDC connection, the fire department connection. So those are all being worked on, again, simultaneously to to the interior plans, but the civil engineer has been engaged, and we'll be submitting that to the city as well later this month.
Councilmember Moy?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, John and Dave, for being here. My question might be directed to city staff as much as it is you, but it's more so in thinking about, the questions that we get from the community are, okay, when's it going to open? What's it going to look like? And I know you're targeting and hoping for early spring, late summer. Just want to make sure there's expectations aligned from our end. We know that there's a review process from the city staff, and that's, you're submitting your plans. We've also got in this lease, the council's going to review the design, right? So I just want to make sure that see if staff have kind of worked on timing with you of that. If you're saying we expect to submit plans to Douglas and his team this month, so that you can start in March. Do we expect that those will be, in place in time for city council to weigh in, or what expectations do we have there? Because obviously I know we're not, this committee isn't reviewing anything today.
I'll take the first part of the question, then Douglas or Desiree can take the second one. But we've been in constant communication with Douglas and Desiree, and they've been great to work with, and we've been bouncing ideas back and forth. The only thing we can't control is some of the designs, the outside architect and MEP and structural engineering's timeline. So as soon as we, have information, we share with Douglas and Desiree, and it's been very collaborative.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think from our end, there's obviously a commitment to helping and doing what we can to make sure that we stay on schedule. So I know that Douglas's office will be in charge of reviewing those plans and those specifications, and the plan would be to present that to council. But in the timing will depend really when we get it, when the structural engineer and the John and Dave's team can get something pretty, at least ready for some feedback and approval as part of that work letter. But yeah, I think we're in constant communication, and we're working as fast as I think everybody's working as fast as we can. And as soon as we receive something, we've been treating it very diligently.
So I would just add, and maybe John, this is John Bushnell, this may be a question for you, but I probably should have been aware of that trigger that the council was going to review the plans. I quite honestly wasn't aware of that. So we've been talking about timeframes for the city's review in my office, and in my mind, I was thinking of purely the building permit review, just like any other building permit request. And we've talked to John about how we could potentially speed that up. And I think we've got a good understanding of how quickly we can get that turned around. But again, I wasn't thinking really of council reviewing them. John Bushnell, in our discussions, it sounds like you're waiting for very kind of what I would call fine details on things like mechanical systems, and probably a level of detail that the council doesn't, I'm guessing they don't really need that level. And I wonder if you couldn't go ahead and give what you have to get their review started now, just with the understanding that, the nuts and bolts of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing system will just be reviewed for code components. Is that something you could do?
Well, I think what you're saying, if I'm understanding, like y'all are looking more for like elevations of what the building's going to look like, right? Not where the plumbing is going to go. And we have a lot of that, but yeah. So we can have a lot of that. And so we'll just have to get with our architect and have him fine tune it. But I think we're very close on having those more conceptual, what the building will look like from an exterior standpoint very soon.
Yeah, Dave and John, I think that's definitely what we would want to be seeing at this point here, and not the level of detail that Douglas had mentioned as well. So if we could expedite that in some way, that would be good. And who raised their hand? Councilmember Moy?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just wanted to make clear my purpose here is just to make sure that neither this committee nor the full council are the bottleneck for us getting,
Right.
we want, we heard our residents loud and clear. They want a restaurant there as soon as possible. So I just want to make sure that we're not the bottleneck, and, we're no strangers to special meetings these days.
Well said.
We can get preliminary plans to the council sooner than we expected. So we will do that. We'll circle back with the architect this afternoon and get those, again, just fine tuned.
That would be good. And John, one other point here. I just want to circle back a little bit in regards to, the transformer, the fire hydrant, the entranceway, entryway. You feel pretty good about where we are in that process now, if I heard you correctly?
Yes, so we did find a solution for the transformer. I don't have an answer on the FTC or the fire hydrant yet. That's what the civil engineer is working on this week, but we have a meeting with him Friday, so I can answer that question 5 days from now.
Okay, great. All right, any other questions or input from fellow council members or Desiree or Douglas? Okay, well, gentlemen.
I just want to say that we're excited and eager to see the new restaurant at the Marina.
Absolutely. I would echo that. And gentlemen, we greatly appreciate you being here with us today to give us an update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
All right, let's see. Now we're moving on to old business, and first order of business is an update on Marina Dock Rehabilitation Project. So I guess, Desiree, I would turn that over to you.
All right, I will gladly take that on. My computer has still not yet turned on. It's still conducting some weird updates, so I apologize. As soon as it comes back up, I'll log in via Zoom. But I'll go ahead and give you an update of where we are in the Marina rehabilitation construction. The bulkhead recoating continues to proceed very well. The areas east of the boat ramp have been completed, and they look pretty good. The contractor is now shifting to the area behind the restaurant now. Preliminary utility work on the upland portion of the site has started. This includes work adjacent to the Marina store and along the west side of the boat ramp. The contractor, Salmon Dredging, has received many of the new power pedestals and the electrical equipment for the new dock system, and they're storing that in their warehouse, not on site. ATM and the city has worked diligently with the restaurant folks to finalize the location of the new transformer that it was currently in what its existing location is right in the middle of, not in the middle, but very in front of the outdoor bar area. That's being moved to outside of the actual outdoor seating site. And that transformer will serve both the face dock and the restaurant dock. I think John spoke to this earlier during his report, that they are also working in coordination with ATM to integrate the fire hydrant adjacent to the new transformer in order to try to minimize the impact on available parking spaces. ATM has received the floating dock manufacturer shop drawings and the calculations, and that's being reviewed this week. We have an updated fuel hut concept and the weight that's being reviewed for pricing, and they're awaiting for confirmation from Salmons on this change order for the city to consider and approve. You all recall that we had a $100,000 placeholder for this component. There are some insurances and policy that we may have not considered before that are coming into play. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that, but it's looking like it may require council to consider increasing that $100,000 budget if we are not able to find an alternate solution to that insurance as it relates to the construction of the fuel hut. The phasing, I think I mentioned this during the council meeting last week, that the phasing for the project has shifted slightly due to the delays with finalizing the fuel hut configuration. Before they were going to start with the fuel hut and the fuel dock, and that's being shifted to for that component being the last. We don't think that will have major implications or impacts, and we've been obviously communicating this with the Marina manager as well. The water sports dock, you recall that was a change order number 3 that was considered by council, which involved making some adjustments to that dock to take it out of the setback line, the construction setback from the middle of the intercoastal. That work has been completed, and ATM has confirmed that the dock is outside that channel by the Army Corps of Engineers, the channel offset. We have a new survey that was conducted by the contractor, so this has been confirmed. As part of the review and evaluation of the work that was done by the contractor, there are some deficiencies that have been exposed in the structural integrity of that existing gangway and the interior floating dock. This was not caused by the relocation itself. So I'm in the process of coordinating a visit with Kirby to the dock and have a more of an in-depth conversation about what those are and what we may need to do. I think I've mentioned this before, that we're slightly behind schedule by about 4 to 6 weeks. This is due to several reasons: the fuel hut coordination, the relocation of the electrical transformer, and material delays associated with COVID, especially as it relates to the floating dock. We continue to work very diligently with everybody, all the stakeholders, to try to mitigate any delays and communicate any changes to the schedule that we may need to do. But again, work continues. It's going well, but slightly delayed.
Desiree, does it look like in terms of the delay, does it look like it's gonna roll over into the high season, so to speak?
Well, again, and that really depends when we get the docks and when they're able to start demo and mobilization of the new system. I continue to be ensured by the contractor that once the docks are here, it's a pretty quick turnaround. I guess we have to define quick, right? But you know, we're trying to do as much work with what we have beforehand and shifting the schedule accordingly, so that once we have the docks here and the fuel hut configuration completed, then that could be done. We'll have to continue to have conversations with the Marina manager and the ATM and the contractor to see how we can further mitigate any impacts that this project may have in this season.
Okay. Any questions from my council member colleagues here? Council member Boyd?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. This is maybe a different way of asking what you asked, Chair. But Desiree, 4 to 6 weeks, best case scenario, if there are no other additional delays, what are the best case scenarios for completion of this?
Mid to late June. That's worst case scenario.
No, I said what's best case scenario?
Oh, best case scenario, May. Month of May.
Let's hope for May.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback Desiree. You know, being in the construction world, everything's getting delayed big time. So it's not a surprise that it's occurring in this situation as well. Just want to share that.
Thanks for sharing that. good comments to know. I mean, I assume that you being the expert in the construction business, I know that you would know it better than anyone, particularly on this.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert there, Mr. Chairman.
I would. All right. Any other? That's a good comprehensive update, Desiree. Probably some of it was, we're a little bit disappointed to hear about the delays, but we also understand that there are issues there, as we just noted. But a lot of good comprehensive information. So if you just keep us up to date on that as much as possible, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other comments from council members? All right. With that, we'll move on to item B. That's the update on the ADA compliant dual purpose beach boardwalk at 42nd Avenue beach access. Take it away there, Desiree.
All right, I'll take it from here. Last month, we talked about the city's efforts to request approval from the Greenbelt Board for the change of the scope for this project, going from a sort of an elevated boardwalk to a sort of a dual purpose beach boardwalk that could replace the existing blue matting material that we have at 42nd Avenue. So we submitted a letter to the board and they have approved the change in the scope without needing for the city to resubmit a new application. So that's really great news. The next step for us will be to prepare an RFP, a request for proposal document, so that we can secure the purchase of this material and also the installation. So that's where we are. We have not yet completed the request for proposal, but we'll have to go through just the regular procurement process per the city code to get this project finalized.
Great.
Okay. Any questions or input from council members? Councilmember Moy?
Yeah, thank you, Desiree. Thank you, Chair. Just pointing back to a comment from Councilmember Buchanan at our last council meeting in terms of potentially using some of the funds that we've saved to shift in this project for improvements to other beach walkways. Any thoughts about how we can and should proceed in that regard from staff? Yeah.
So a couple things. The eligible projects for use of these funds are very limited. The beach communities have a little bit more leeway because we don't have a whole lot of land to buy for Greenbelt and for green space. But there are a couple of options that we have discussed in the past. And one of them is submitting an application towards the public dock and green space project initiative at the Marina. That would be an eligible project, we believe. And also elevated footbridges, not boardwalks, but somewhat very similar to what Sullivan's Island has. It's a little bit different and difficult for us because of our elevation and our dune system. So those are two items that we have been talked about and sort of evaluating as projects that could be eligible to be funded in part by these funds. Unfortunately, we are not ready at this point to submit a new application for those. I think that we'd be in better position to submit and request funds towards the public dock and green space project than the footbridges for the beach access paths. There's just some concerns that we have about, just ongoing maintenance and just, coordination with DHEC too. If some of these, all these beach access paths, go through a critical area that would need to get the DHEC's approval. So I guess my point is that we need to do a little bit more work and research and evaluation towards, looking at using those funds for footbridges and improvements to existing beach access paths. And we're not there yet, unfortunately.
And Desiree, I guess we'd have to be sensitive to what the potential effect would be on the properties that lie on either side of those access paths.
Correct.
So I know that all has to be taken into account. So, just
Well,
Yeah,
I thought that that was a great idea, and I talked to Douglas and Donnie, and they brought me back to reality, if you will.
Okay. All right. Well, if we can just keep working on that and see if we can find a solution, it would certainly be, I think, beneficial to all of our residents and visitors going forward if we could find a way to work with that in the future.
And
I've got a quick,
one more thing, Chair.
yes, please.
I just want to say that to Councilmember Moy's question, this may or may not be relevant, but the funds that are allocated to the city are for the city's use. So even, all we need to do is ensure that whatever project we want to use them for are consistent with the mission of the Greenbelt program, and it's an eligible project. So even if we are not able to submit plans this year, by the later in the year, there's another funding opening that we can pursue for reimbursement of some of these initiatives. But us not submitting by the end of this month doesn't, we don't lose any money. We can always go back and apply, and those funds stay there. They're allocated to Alpine specifically.
That's good that you reinforce that the money does not go away. I mean, we still have it on hand and we can use it for whatever projects that we can get approved, and that would be for the benefit of our residents and visitors.
That
Good.
is correct, yes.
Right. I've got one other question in regards to the walkover on 42nd. This was brought to me by one of our fine citizens, and they were talking about the possibility of, since we have these latest FEMA flood maps and beach profiles, that sort of thing, if we could some way determine if we could extend that walkway on 42nd, down on the beach side to take up a little more of that soft sand. I mean, we have a good amount of accretion in the middle of this island, and that may be something that we may want to take a look at. I don't know if that's a Douglas question or what, but I think it's a good point, one worthy of consideration, that, when we do finally have that in place, the more we can take away the need for people to walk over or go over onto the soft sand and more towards the hard sand, the better off we would be. So just want to throw that out there, Desiree, for your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll let Douglas speak to that. I'm not sure what the answer to that question is.
We have tried on several different occasions with OCRM to get permission to go farther than basically what we call the ocean side toe of that primary dune, and we've been unsuccessful in doing that. They historically have not authorized us to go beyond basically where the dune stops. We can certainly ask again, and their staff and their positions change over the years, and but we've asked a number of times in a number of different locations, and they just generally have not looked favorably upon it. But we can certainly ask.
It would certainly be appreciated if you would ask again, and given our latest situation on the beach and the maps that we have out there showing that we're in a much better position from the stability of the beach in that area. Thank you, Douglas and Desiree. Anything else from fellow council members? All right, good update. Thanks for that. And we will move on to item C, which is the update on front beach patio area improvements. So Desiree, you're up again, I guess.
All right. So we wanted to show you all sort of the progress of this little project that we're very excited about down at Front Beach in front of our public restrooms. This was an initiative that we tried to get done last year, but was put on hold due to COVID. We've been in the process of looking at improving Front Beach strategically. Obviously, although we own the road and we own this piece of this property, we're somewhat limited to what we can do with some of the other buildings. But this was an area that we've been looking at, and we just saw that it was ripe for improving. And we've struggled with maintaining the grass there because of the high traffic area. We wanted to enhance and increase the seating abilities and availability in that area. And the first step was creating a sort of a patio in that area. And it turned out pretty nicely. We're happy about it. We're in the process of finalizing the design for some landscaping around it, and also securing some prices for some picnic tables that are going to go in that spot. So before, it was a little bit shoppy. We had some picnic tables and then benches, and then in the middle we had some bike racks. So we just felt like organizing it a little bit better would yield better results. So this is sort of small, but it's always nice to see the work product of something we've been working on for so long. And Robert has been phenomenal, sort of leading this initiative throughout. And we just can't wait to share this with our residents and visitors once it's complete.
Okay, thank you. So what, I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilmember Potts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Desiree, it looks great. Thank you. I just want to make sure we're going to bolt down the picnic tables and benches so they don't disappear.
We will take that into consideration. I'm not sure how easy that would be, but I'm sure that ensuring that they don't move around is going to be a priority.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. Councilmember Moy, anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to find a picture. Okay. I think I'm looking at the picture I took of it beforehand just to compare. Just thinking about sharing with all of council a little side by side before and after would be appreciated, but not
Okay.
nothing urgent. Just I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, okay, I can see the finished product. It looks fantastic. Seeing the side by side makes it look even better.
Yeah, well, once we sort of finalize it and get the landscaping in place, I'm sure it'll be even more impactful that way.
All right. Okay, thank you for that update. And no other questions or anything to bring up on that, we'll move to item D. And that's discussion of the conceptual design of the proposed public dock and green space at the Isle of Palms Marina. So Desiree, can you give us an update there?
Yeah, Douglas and I will sort of work together on this one. We've been working together with Kelly and refining the conceptual drawing. And I'm not sure, but I asked Ron, I'm not sure if you're already seeing it, but I asked Ron to pull it up. Let me know once that's there. But in your packets, you should have seen a conceptual plan dated January 25th. Douglas and I have had the opportunity to speak with Kelly and sort of hear her thoughts and the feedback from her thoughts on the feedback that we received from the community and the feedback that we received from this committee and also from staff. Some concerns about the original design were mostly associated with the sort of encroachment. Encroachment, that sounds intense, but just the encroachment into the parking area and wanting to have a plan that really enhances the amount of vehicular parking that would be available for folks to use the marina and this area. So you'll see the main sort of differences between this plan and the other plan include the following changes. And like I said, that entryway component that we had seen has been removed, and sort of the green space continues this linear look along the bulkhead. We also talked about incorporating some picnic tables under some shades in lieu of a upland paddleboard or kayak storage. That's also been reconfigured to include about 3 picnic tables under a sail shade. I'm not sure if you're aware with these, but they're held by some posts and they're sort of movable and not hard structures. We also talked about the just increasing the amount of golf cart parking that is included in the concept. Douglas, is there anything else that changed between the first concept and this concept that I missed?
No, I'm not crystal clear what the interface adjacent to the restaurant was on the prior plan, but she did mention that it's, that it's reworked here, and to basically give the restaurant a little more space to transition into this path. But I think that's it.
Yeah, so, we talked with Kelly last week about sort of the next step, and I think we discussed this at the last meeting, us trying to secure some proposals from different firms that could develop engineered plans. So that's going to be the next step for us, for the staff, at least get a ballpark of how much this would cost to get into just moving from conceptual to more specifications that we can then bid out, or at least, even informally, to try to understand, the cost of implementing this green space sort of park, waterfront park at the Marina. We have, she has gracefully submitted and sent us some ideas of manufacturers for the benches, both the sort of half circle type benches and the regular benches that are included in that concept, as well as the shades, sort of commercial grade materials that will ensure sort of, low maintenance for the city. So we're sort of in that process. We would like to have a broader conversation with the rest of council about the concept and get some buy-in that way. And in the meantime, we'll just be refining the cost of engineering plans and construction documents as well. I do want to reiterate something that the mayor mentioned last month during the city council meeting. As you all know, we're currently in the process eviction proceedings with the former tenant. Until that case is adjudicated by the court, we are not able to move forward with any construction there, but we certainly want to make sure that we're ready once that happens. We want to continue working on this, as council voted on to pursue a public park and public dock there. We'll continue to work on our end with what we can. So other than that, I don't have anything else, Douglas, unless I forgot anything.
No, I think that's it.
A couple of comments that I have, and then I'll turn it over to my fellow council members also. It seems to me, this plan that I'm seeing now, based on the first one we saw, it's incredible. It looks great, the changes that were made. I really like the golf cart parking, the bike parking that's going to be available down there as proposed, at least in this conceptual plan. And I don't think the flagpole was there before, was it? With the benches and our seat walls around that. I'm not sure if that was part of the, maybe it was and I just missed it. But this looks like just a good concept overall to me. And hopefully we'll be able to, at some point, move forward with it. So we got, last month, you mentioned, Desiree, that we had, I think, 15 or more citizens that provided feedback to Kelly in regards to to us in regards to some proposed changes. So it looks like a pretty significant number of people weighed in, and I'm assuming that was all good feedback and well received by Kelly.
Yeah, it was good feedback. We should have shared that with the rest of council, and if we haven't, we apologize. We'll make sure that you all get a copy of those as well, as along with both the original and then the revised conceptual plan. So again, I can't remember if we've shared that, and if we haven't, we apologize.
No, we asked.
But good feedback.
Yeah, we asked for it, and I don't think we got it unless I missed it, but you've been busy this month, so we'll forgive you if you just get it to us. So it's not like you've not had plenty to do. Councilmember Moy or Hobson, anything to add to this? Yes, sir.
I would just like to say that we've got limited space down there, and because of the limited space, I think this is just an excellent plan. So I think that was nicely done and didn't cost us a lot yet.
Yeah, it hasn't cost us anything yet.
Yeah.
I will say that I did want to add during my report earlier that the city's tree fund currently has $130,000 in it, and this is a fund that, you know, folks, when they're going to replace trees, they can either pay into the fund or replace the tree on site. And so in those funds are stated by code, they need to be used for beautification of city property. So those are the monies that would be available to the city for the construction. But as of right now, we have no intelligent idea of what this would cost. I know that in the past, there's been some discussion about some, you know, donations from the community for green space. I haven't heard a whole of, you know, about that, but I know it was just, you know, mentioned at some point. So that's an opportunity. And the city's also going through the budgeting process right now. So that would be a good opportunity to allocate some funds towards this initiative. Obviously, depending on the timeline on when we would be able to construct something there, you know, in light of the current legal circumstance that we find ourselves in at the Marina.
Councilmember Moy.
Yeah, Desiree spoke to the main question I had, which was I was aware that some of our residents had raised their hand and said that they'd be interested in donating to this. And in addition to that, we have precedent for you know, selling bricks and doing things of that nature. You know, the golf cart parking looks like kind of an obvious, or bench dedication, whatever. There's some obvious places where I think we could get funds from the community, and in keeping with trying to have as many things lined up as possible for when this case is adjudicated. I encourage staff to solicit both those donations for people who have already raised their hand and indicated interest, as well as going ahead and putting into place anything else that we intend to do vis-a-vis, you know, selling benches or bricks or whatever. I don't know if further direction is needed from us. I'm happy to put the word out personally to anybody that I think might be interested in, you know, if somebody's handing out money, the city will put our hands out.
I don't think that we need any action from council at this point, Councilmember Moy. You know, the mayor has talked about his desire to, you know, basically what you just stated, having folks donate towards a bench or, you know, palm trees and some bricks. So I think there's opportunity there. It's, you know, we have a picnic table area under some shade, that would be another opportunity. We'd have to, you know, sort of create a plan of how that's going to work once we have an idea of timing, and then create a structure where people can feel comfortable, you know, making donations towards that. And have to, you know, have conversations with the city treasurer about the best way to structure this. But it's certainly doable. It's there's precedent, and something that we can handle fairly easily. So I think we've all been on that. We're all on the same page, as in providing opportunities for people to donate towards this project.
And Desiree, over the years, we've had tremendous citizen support of all of these types of things in our community, whether it be Plant a Palm on Palm that we had years ago after Hugo, and the work down at Front Beach with the bricks and all, you know, how we redid everything down there, and all the great support. I think probably most of us who have been here for quite a while have a brick down there. So, I honestly think, I mean, there's, I don't know it firsthand, but I've heard the same as Councilmember Boyd, that there are a number of people on this island who really are ready to get involved and help support and help do all they can to help this come to fruition when we can. And I think we just keep trying to make some plans, moving forward as to how we would get people engaged when the right time to do that is. And I think a lot of excitement can be generated around this proposed plan for the waterfront park, and and help it come to reality as soon as we can move forward with it.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts, gentlemen?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that. And again, thank Kelly for all the work that she's put into this as well. Thanks to her. All right, let's move on to new business. Item A, discussion and consideration of a noise agreement with the Marina restaurant. So do we want to go into that, Desiree?
Yes, I can provide some background and context.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
The city, do I have the floor? I can't see any of you.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Okay, great. All right. So the city's noise ordinance, it's on section 9 to 5. It includes a section there that talks about loudspeakers and the use of sound trucks, amplifiers, or any mechanical electrical devices that are used for increasing the volume of sound. Those are prohibited in the city unless they are a city-owned property subject to a commercial lease and a noise control agreement or permit that is provided by the city. So for the All Palms Marina restaurant, we obviously have a commercial lease with them, and the next step is developing a noise control agreement. This was developed some years ago for Morgan Creek Grill, and this sort of predates me, so I've been reading the minutes and the comments that were received at that point and the concerns that the surrounding communities had related to noise in the restaurant. And a lot of work went into developing a noise control agreement, and also using creating that band shell that's still in place there to try to mitigate the noise and the decibels as much as possible to ensure that you have a viable restaurant there with some outdoor activity, but not in a way that negatively impacts the surrounding residential community. So I've included in your packet a copy of the draft noise control agreement that the city had with Morgan Creek Grill. It's the same document. It changes sort of the tenant from Barrier Isles LLC to the new tenant. And I've sent this to the John Bushnell and Dave Lorenz, to the new restaurant tenants for their review, and just making them aware that that's another step that we have to go through in order for them to have some outdoor sort of sound amplifiers and whatnot to provide live entertainment at the outdoor restaurant. I don't expect them to want to do anything different, and that's part of our conversations. They plan to do, pretty much have the same sort of outdoor component that Morgan Creek Grill had. So this wouldn't be anything more or different from that. But I wanted to give you all an opportunity to look at the agreement, to provide some feedback, and if there's anything that you all would like for us to look into, if we feel like we need to have, more clarity or just clear guidelines and specifications, and this would be the time to have that discussion. Obviously, maybe not this month. You all may want to, sort of, like I like to say, noodle on it and come back next month, knowing that we would still have time before they anticipate having outdoor service. So, I do think that after, and is Douglas still on the line?
Seems to be.
Maybe not. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe, again, maybe this is something that, you have some experience with. I'm not sure how involved you were last time, but it seems to me that after the development of this agreement and the creation of the band shell, a lot of the issues were addressed, and we didn't have that big of a I guess, issues after these strategies were implemented at that point. So it seemed to have been successful at mitigating that impact to the residential community. So that's
Right.
what we have. I don't know if Douglas, you want to, if you're in a position to speak to sort of the development of the noise control agreement back in the day, or any other changes to the restaurant building, or to mitigate noise. But
I don't have anything to add, Desiree, and my perception is the same as yours, is that, and I don't know if what exactly led to the reduction in complaints, if it was the shell or if it was the change in behavior of the operator or what. But I would agree that eventually the complaints did seem to be taken care of.
So I guess in order for the restaurant to comply with the city code, which obviously they're required to by the lease, we would have to develop a noise control agreement between two parties. And the starting point is the noise control agreement we have with Morgan Creek, which is the one that we provided to you all in your packet.
Okay, I'd like to ask either Councilmember Popson or Boy or both to weigh in on this. I've got a few comments to make myself, but either one of you gentlemen want to raise questions or weigh in on this particular subject? Yes, sir. Councilman.
I did speak with John Bushnell earlier, and they are very sensitive to this. They sort of learned from the past, from what Morgan Creek did. They said a lot of the noise was coming from that upper deck, and they're not going to be obviously doing that. They're sensitive to turning the speakers inward, not outward. So they've already looking into this, and like I said, are kind of sensitive to all the surrounding neighbors. So I think they'll be fine with this. I didn't really see that I needed to add any comments to what I read. I thought it was pretty good, but I don't know. It's more of a question, I guess. We're going to make a recommendation at some point to the full council, is my guess. But I think we still have some time, maybe get the plans done, see what they're actually drawn and what they're going to do. Might give us a better indication. And if we could maybe wait a little bit to make a recommendation, that might be the right thing to do.
Thank you, Councilmember Popson. Councilmember Boy?
Yeah, I don't have too much new to say from Councilmember Popson. And unless staff says there's some sort of urgency with this agreement, I think that's a wise suggestion from him, that maybe we wait and see some more of the specific plans. And if we feel like there's something that's not covered, then we would be able to do that more proactively.
Thank you. I agree with both of you. I think we probably should just wait on this before we approach the rest of council in regards to this. And Desiree, you say that this is already in John Bushnell and Dave Lorenz's hands anyway. They're already reviewing this, and I think Councilmember Popson's gotten feedback already that indicates that they want to be good citizens down there. I was still working, not retired at the time, but I do remember when this issue came up initially, and it was quite controversial there for a while. But then after some things got resolved, and I think probably to Douglas's point, that it was probably a compromise between not only the band shell and maybe some of the things that did to help reduce some of the amplification, but also the tenant themselves, the operator, making sure that they were careful about the amount of noise that was emanating from there. I think that worked out and helped reduce the complaints down there to basically nothing, as far as I know, after the initial complaint. So I read over the agreement. Looks like everything's complete to me. I mean, I can't imagine that we would add much more later on, but I do appreciate you bringing it forward. And if we don't have any further discussion, we can move on. Nothing else for us to do at this point. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so item B under new business, a discussion of the full year 2022 10-year capital plan for the Isle of Palms Marina and Front Beach. So take that away, Desiree.
I will gladly take this on. In your packets, you should have the first draft of the city's 10-year capital plan for both the Front Beach area, the Breach Inlet boat ramp, and the beach maintenance and monitoring on the Isle of Palms Marina. These are just capital expenses. Next month, we'll talk about some operational. We typically all follow these schedules, looking at capital first and then operational. So this year, some of these numbers are still being reviewed and will be refined as we go through the process and get more concrete estimates on some of these initiatives. But included in the first draft are the following items. We have about $25,000 to continually replace white fencing or improve the white fencing that's included at Front Beach and around the 2 municipal parking lots. We are looking at that.
Yeah, quick question. We've got this in our packet, but I'm not sure if the public can, if anyone's watching that, if they can we put this on the screen? Would it be possible?
Yeah,
to do
Ron.
that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Ron, can you share your screen and add there are 2 sheets that are in
there
the
we
packet.
Go. Great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councilmember Streetman.
Welcome.
So we have $25,000 to rehabilitate the white fencing. We're looking at getting pricing to paint the existing fence with some sort of epoxy coating that is resistant to rust. The fencing at Front Beach, I believe there are 2 different materials there. So there's one section that's holding up pretty nicely, and then others that are not. So we've looked at very informal quotes to replace all of the fencing, but it's astronomical, and we frankly don't see the need to replace, since some areas are they're in pretty good shape. So we're looking at potentially painting it a darker color. Usually a darker color, it stands out less, certainly less than the white that's there. So those are some options that we're evaluating, and we'd like to make some improvements there rather than looking at replacing them. We have $100,000. This is something that we typically we include as a placeholder to have some funds to replace, repair, or add dune walkovers. We have 57 beach access paths. As you all know, we're not moving forward with the one at 42nd Avenue, but we're always very diligent at trying to identify other locations that would be well served by enhancing the beach access via Boardwalk or some sort of footbridges. That we've also talked about how that could be also done through some Greenbelt program and other grant opportunities. We included about $70,000 to repair sidewalks on Ocean Boulevard. We're looking at a 5-year process to get all of the sidewalks between 10th and 14th repaired. We have some areas that are in really rough shape, and as you all know, the city owns this section of Ocean Boulevard, so that's the city's responsibility to maintain. We'll continue to refine this number, but as of right now, we have $70,000 in FY22 through FY26 with the goal of completing it after 5 years. We've also included a provision for facilities maintenance. This is the 3rd year that we pursue a sort of a deferred maintenance initiative to address all city property, and we've been budgeting about 1% of the insured value. Because of the high traffic of this facility, we've increased that to $20,000. We did that last year as well. Then we also have a provision for to assign a fund balance for future expenditures associated with bigger dollar or higher dollar infrastructure improvements as it relates to just resurfacing, the road and other high ticket items. So we've included $75,000 for that. And for Breach Inlet boat ramp, we don't have anything scheduled for FY22. We do have a couple of items in FY23. Then we go to the second page, beach maintenance and monitoring. The feasibility study for the Breach Inlet project area is a rebudget from FY21. And this is associated with efforts at the city's effort to try to coordinate a project in coordination with the Army Corps for the next time they come dredging. There are some opportunities there to clean up that channel and redistribute some of the sand that has moved into Breach Inlet into that section of Front Beach. That needs, to be studied, and offshore dredging, offshore borrow areas need to be identified, and that's sort of always been the next step as part of the city's efforts at maintaining and protecting the beach proactively. So we're rebudgeting that for FY22. We have an update to the beach management plan. This is the local comprehensive beach management plan that the city has to review and update every 5 years. We have to get DHEC to approve it every 10 years. The last time that DHEC approved it was in 2017, and in 2022 is our time to update that document. We had $40,000 originally scheduled. I felt like that was a little excessive, and we are in the process of just securing additional proposals to get that work done, because it is an update, and we did a very comprehensive document the last 5 years. The amount of work that it needs, it's not as, we're developing the plan from scratch. So I don't think that $40,000. I think $20,000 is more than enough to get that completed. And then last item under beach maintenance that we have is the ongoing monitoring of the shoreline, and this includes, we have a proactive effort to monitor the 7 miles of beach, and every year, and an annual report is developed, and we have a relationship with Coastal Science and Engineering, who perform this work, and we have them under contract for this. So, that item is just something that we consider and approve every year for the ongoing monitoring. For the Palms Marina, we have nothing included for FY22. Thankfully, we will be doing some a lot of maintenance work for the bulkhead, and the marina docks are being replaced. We're seeing a lot of work and progress at the marina this year. I mentioned it when I gave you all an update to the marina dock project, that ATM has identified some deficiencies in the water sports dock, and we're part of the city's plan per council action was to transform that into a public dock that would facilitate kayak and paddleboard launching and other public activity. I have not yet had an opportunity to meet with Kirby on site. Last week was a little bit of a blur with everything we had going on, but that's something that I'll be looking at and looking at what kind of work that dock may need in the very near future to ensure that we're maintaining that piece of property just like we are the rest. So once we have more information on that, we'll incorporate that into the 10-year capital plan and bring it before this committee and council. And then the last item, I think, is facilities maintenance, which is a contingency for common areas that are not covered by any of the leases, and we've calculated that again as 0.5% of the insured boat ramp, bulkhead, and dock value, and that is for $26,000, $251.
Thank you, Desiree.
That's all.
Yeah, that marina maintenance contingencies, that's something we basically budget this way every year. That one.
We started Yeah, we started for about 3 years ago. It's part of the facilities maintenance initiative.
Right.
And, you know, we use it for any improvements or any unexpected needs associated with any of the common areas at the marina.
And I like the thoughts of reducing the update beach management plan from $40,000 to $20,000. That's, you know, that we can get it done in that amount. That would be great. And the feasibility study for Breach Inlet, so if you do, you contract someone to do the feasibility study, obviously. So are they looking at that to see if that's a good area to borrow sand to go ahead and replenish areas on the beach? Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of what they would be evaluating. They would also be would do some offshore work to identify borrow areas that contain beach compatible sand that could be used in the event that we need to consider an offshore dredging project in the future. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done before we're ready to even contemplate a new project. And also they need to study, you know, sort of, you know, the condition of that area and look at some trends based on the movement of the sand and come up with a plan that says, you know, the city might be needing to look at a project in this area in the next 5 years or 10 years. So this would be that first step. The city, like I said, we have several contracts with Coastal Science and Engineering. They're the company that did manage the city's, two of the city's renourishment plans back on the opposite end of the island. We went out for bid again before engaging them for the normal monitoring, the ongoing monitoring of Shoreline. You know, in the past, the city has made the argument to go with them as a sole source contract because of just the amount of knowledge and experience and data that they already have of the beach. However, we will still, you know, pursue the procurement process and give other firms the ability to submit a proposal. But it's just, you know, oftentimes the cost, even going through procurement, the cost with going with CSC is it's significantly less than somebody new because of all the knowledge and the data that they currently have. But we would follow that same process before engaging anybody for the feasibility study.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Moy or Popson, any questions or input?
Just a question about our contract with Coastal Science and Engineering for the ongoing monitoring of the shoreline. Just, I guess, and I may have follow-up questions, but when was this negotiated? What's the term of that agreement?
And I would have to go and pull the contract, but we did go for an RFP. If it wasn't at least 2 years ago, so recently, and I seem to, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was a 5-year contract at that point for the monitoring.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Thanks for the update, Desiree. That's good.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on. Item 7, miscellaneous business. Does anyone have any miscellaneous business they want to bring up? If not, then our next meeting date will be 1:30 p.m. on Monday, March the 1st of 2021. Unbelievable. We're flying along in this year too. No executive session needed. And do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
I think Kevin seconded. He's mute, but he seconded. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi, sorry about that. I was on mute.
All right.
Everybody
have a
45.
All right. Thank you. And everybody have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.